Chapter 5. Night of Grinding Teeth. The first wave ran like a rumor. We loosed clay jars that sang and broke and became light. Pitch crawled up ribcages and found collarbones convenient. Bone bows shot bone arrows, and when they hit, they did not break, they adopted. The wall shook like a drum hit from the wrong side. I learned my brace as if it had always been my hand. I wrenched the crank and the auger chewed through a skull, then grabbed a second and tugged them both like weeds that refused to admit soil. The host did not bleed, but it minded heat. Our lime jars burst into white shrieks. The air powdered itself with anger. The double moved through it all like a man who has never fallen downstairs. He stepped over flame. He gave orders in my voice, but mine never sounded that patient. He climbed the siege ladder laid against our wall and met me where the stones knew our weight. "You could have gone home," he said conversationally, parrying a hook and raking the air near my throat so the air remembered it. "You could have let someone else be brave." "You could shut up," I said and struck. He smiled when he could have smiled, or he could have died. He chose the smile because it would make the dying take longer. Marsa cried out. Two of the host, more careful than the rest, had slipped through a crack in our line and reached the lament's pedestal. Their hands smoked where they touched the circle Hob had drawn, but they did not complain. Hob dragged a brush of salt to fix the broken arc. A skull bit his hand and took 2 fingers as price. He kept painting with what was left. I did what I have always done when I am without enough answers. I lied with my body. I pretended to miss. The double laughed. Laughter bent his knees. A hinge shows itself only when a door moves. I kicked low and felt a knee that should have been mine break in a way that would have embarrassed me in front of a child. He hissed and stopped looking like a god. "Your word is better than mine," I told him, and I turned quick and grabbed a jar meant for the next volley. It was not lime. It had a wick. "Say it," he demanded, still smiling but less. "Say it or say goodbye." I lit the wick and pushed it against the lament's edge. The host screamed, not for pain, but for etiquette. "You do not burn a library, not even if it has teeth." Fire walked the edges of the obsidian pages, and where it touched the etchings they lifted free like moths and fled up into the rafters where they shivered. The double forgot me just for a breath. He reached for the lament and did not find it where he wanted it to be. I drove the auger into his shoulder and turned the crank until the bone found a new opinion. He fell backward, not as a hero, but as a man surprised. The host felt it and took 1 step back together, a tide in a square bucket. Marsa leaped from the pedestal and threw the lament toward me. It slid across stone as if stone remembered being sea. I tore a strip from my shirt, wrapped it around my bleeding wrist, and gripped the lament with both hands. The words to say were not the 3 words. The lament wrote their shape in the meat behind my eyes. A different triad, a return path. It tasted like copper. Ulen. Maveth. Saran, I said, and the syllables cost me places I used to keep safe. The host looked up at a sky that had not been there a heartbeat before. The stars had moved and were spelling my name wrong. The double swung his blade. He looked small for the first time since I had met him. "Come with me," he said, and I knew what he meant. He meant he would follow, even if following made him less of himself, even if it took him farther from the word he envied. "No," I said, because one thing I have never done well is share.